Hey, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna be looking at some of the basic tools in Lightroom. These are the tools that I use all of the time when I'm doing edits on my photos. So first of all, we're gonna look at the spot removal tool. This is super helpful when you're trying to remove something from a photo, whether it's a sign in the background, a person standing behind, like in your background, or if you're removing something like a blemish from somebody's skin. We're also gonna look at the graduated filters. These are really helpful when dealing with overexposed skies, or if you're just trying to brighten up maybe the bottom or the side of a photo if your light is a little bit darker. Next, we're gonna look at the adjustment brush. The adjustment brush does a ton of things, but we're gonna specifically look at how you can use the adjustment brush to whiten somebody's teeth, to soften their skin, or if there's some discoloration in their skin, whether it's they're facing a brick wall or they're wearing a bright colored shirt and so their skin tone is looking a little off, you can use that to correct that. Speaking of color correcting, we're also going to look at how we can use the color tool in order to adjust colors, like how to get your grass a more muted green. We're also going to look at split toning, which is super helpful in dealing with skin coloring. And we're going to look at how we can convert a photo into black and white and make it really pop. So if any of those sound like something you need to learn, keep on watching. All right, so we're going to look at the spot removal tool. I've already edited this photo exactly how I want it, but we have this blue sign in the background as well as the white sign, which isn't like terrible. However, it is a little bit distracting. I want my eye to go directly to my subject here. So we're gonna use the spot removal tool. You can find this in the Develop tab, and then this is the crop tool, and then you're gonna go over one. It's the little circle with the arrow. You're gonna click on that. And then you can adjust the size of your brush here. You can see that circle getting larger and smaller. You can also adjust on a Mac by swiping 2 fingers up on your trackpad to make it bigger, 2 fingers down to make it smaller. So we're gonna go ahead and use our spot removal tool. I'm gonna click and drag just to cover everything that I wanna take out of the photo. It's gonna select on its own what it thinks you should replace it with, but half the time it's wrong. But then you can just click that selection that it made and drag it to where you want it to go. So we're just gonna drop it here. It's not perfect, but it's in the background, and you know, I think it's fine. Let's get that other sign out. So we're gonna go back to our spot removal tool, and we're going to get the sign, cover the sign, and look, it gave us a good selection. So, but just as a reminder, you can move it to select what you want it. So here we have the before and after signs and no signs. The graduated filter is something I don't use a ton, but it is really helpful to know about if you have uneven lighting in your photos. So you find that it's this little rectangle here in the middle. You're gonna click on that, and then you can come here to Effect, hit Soften, or you click the Effect button, and then you can decide what you want to adjust. So for this photo, I'm gonna use the graduated filter because the sky is really bright behind her head, and so her hair is kind of getting lost in there. So I'm just gonna kind of darken it up a little bit. So I'm gonna go to Effect, and then I'm gonna go to Burn Darken. These are some that Lightroom just automatically gives you, and then you can add ones, you can add your own if you have like a specific need. So then you're gonna click on the area, and then you're gonna drag it down. So you're gonna click and drag. I usually drag so that middle line is to where I want my adjustments to kind of stop, but it's a graduated filter, so it's gonna like gradually do this thing. So for instance, like if I wanted to go way down in my exposure here, you can kind of see that that corner is getting way darker than down here in my photo. So it is a gradual filter, hence graduated filter. So we're just gonna kind of go until we like it. So I'm gonna keep that exposure down for sure. I'm just gonna play here with contrast a little bit because I definitely want her hair to not get lost in the sky. Let's bring those highlights down a little bit. That's just gonna bring some more definition. So I'm just gonna play around with these settings until I find something that just works well for me. And let's bump the clarity up just a little bit. There we go. Then you can also do other things, like if I wanted to come in this bottom left corner, I could go to the Dodge Lighten tool and drag it up and brighten up that corner just so that it kind of matches the rest of the rest of the photo. And here's a little before and after, so you can kind of see the difference that made. So this is our shot before and then after with our graduated filters. Now we have the adjustment brush. That's this far right tool here. It kind of looks like a makeup brush, I feel like. And this tool, like I said, does a ton of things. We're just gonna look at a couple here. So you're gonna click adjustment brush, gives you this little plus sign with a circle. And just like the graduated filter, you have a ton of different things you can do, but Lightroom already gives you some basic things like softening someone's skin, whitening their teeth, brightening up their eyes, and then you can make your own adjustments too. So we're gonna do teeth whitening here. So she has beautiful teeth, and I rarely whiten teeth just because I really don't ever have a need to, but just for the sake of teaching you guys, we're gonna whiten her teeth. So I'm gonna zoom in here, and we're actually gonna zoom in even more. Let's see if we can get in. Oh, wrong way. All right, here we go. So we're zooming in, and just like with that spot removal, if you slide your 2 fingers up on your trackpad, it's gonna make your tool bigger. Sliding 2 fingers down makes it smaller. We're gonna get it pretty small here. And then you're just gonna click and drag to paint over the teeth. Now, it is really important with the teeth whitening brush that you only get the teeth. You don't get the gums or definitely the lips. Only paint over your teeth. And then we're gonna zoom out. You can make other adjustments here, like if you want to adjust the temperature. Sometimes I do adjust that to make it not look so edited. But you can do that. You can also bump up the exposure even more if you want them super bright. But Lightroom already has a really good preset for you, so you can just kind of make adjustments. And so that is before, and this is before, and this is the after. You can also use the spot or the adjustment brush to soften skin. I use this a lot in newborns. So I'm gonna go to Lightroom's Soften Skin tool here. Let's zoom in a little bit. And we're gonna make our brush even bigger, and we're just gonna paint over this sweet little guy's skin. I use it a lot in newborns because of baby acne, and we do lots of like up close stuff for newborn shoots. So we're just gonna paint over his sweet little face. And just like that. So it's a total preference here, but I like to come back and adjust the clarity just a little bit because I think that looks a little airbrushed. So you can kind of drag your clarity to whatever you like it. So I usually hang out right about here. And I actually I have an updated Soften Skin brush that I use, so I don't have to adjust it every single time. Now, the other thing that you can do with this adjustment tool, you can also change, like if there's some redness in their skin. You can see here I've made a red face brush, but I'll show you guys how I do that. So I'm gonna go to temperature. So now my adjustment brush is going to affect temperature. I'm just gonna paint right over his face. You can also click this show selected mask overlay, and so it'll turn red all the areas that you have painted. So that's kind of a nice way to make sure you know that you got everything. So we're just gonna kind of paint over, little face. All right, so there's definitely, I don't really want it there we go. Okay, so this is how it was before, and now I'm just gonna make some little adjustments because he does have some redness in his face. A lot of newborns do. So I'm gonna bring my tint down just to take some of those reds out and bring a little more green into his skin tone. And then you can either, depending on what your lighting looks like, you can bring your temperature down, which is gonna make him more blue. We don't really love that. Or you can bring it up, makes him more yellow. We don't really love that either. So it's definitely about finding a sweet spot for these. So I'm gonna bring mine down just a touch. And so now we can kind of see my before and after. This is before, and this is after. Definitely a little bit smoother skin and not as much redness in his face. Let's talk a little bit about colors in your photos. So a lot of people wonder how you can get nice muted greens, especially if you're in an area with a lot of grass, a lot of trees, and it's super easy. So this is a photo that I went ahead and edited, but I didn't edit any of the colors. We're gonna scroll down to this HSL and color tool. We're gonna make sure we hit the color side. There's HSL, but we're also gonna we're gonna switch over to the color. Come to the greens, and you can see here, if I slide the saturation down, it takes the green out of the photo. If I bring it up, it makes it definitely more greener. And then also this luminance affects the green as well, a little bit darker, a little bit more contrasty, and then this is a little bit more bright, and the shadows come out a little bit more, in my opinion. And then the hue changes it for a more like yellow green to a more like teal green here. So how I go about getting just muted greens in my photos is I bring my saturation down on my grass and I bring my luminance up just a little bit. Of course, you can tweak this to your liking. You can also use the yellow to help with these greens, especially if you have lots of green grass, but I'm also seeing like here in the pine trees, some yellow in there. So I'm gonna come to my yellow saturation. I'm not gonna play with this a whole bunch because if you watch, it also affects their skin color. So we're just gonna bring it down just a little bit and then bring our luminance up. And let's see the before and after. So this is before. And this is after, just a little bit more muted, and I think it's beautiful. You can also adjust colors using this color tool here if you are looking for pops of certain colors. So like in this photo, let's go back and change all of our color tools here. So if you wanted to bring out the oranges and these like beautiful fall colors, and you can bring that saturation up. In your photo, you can play around with the luminance here, get those hues a little bit different. But I do want you guys to notice, I'm gonna make just a couple quick adjustments here because I do love the fall colors, but I wanna show you guys something that you do have to be mindful of when you are playing with these tools. So I made these adjustments and it's really cool, but now look at her skin and his skin. We definitely pulled out all of the reds, oranges, and yellows in their skin. And so in order to correct these, I love the colors of the trees and everything. We're gonna go down to the split toning tab, and this is just really helpful in correcting skin tones. So we're gonna go here to this little gray box so that we can select. I like using this because I can see it in front of my own eyes. So I am looking specifically at their face, specifically at their skin color as I'm dragging this around. Okay, like definitely not loving that, you know, we're gonna keep it nice and low because we don't want anything like super drastic. But we're gonna come over, I'm kind of loving this little like yellow green area. Now that just changed all the highlights in our photos. Now we're gonna adjust the shadows. We're gonna do the same thing. A lot of times I find success with like the opposite of the warmness. Like you have yellows, so then your shadows would look good in the blues. If you were in the greens, then it would look a little bit better in the magentas. That's just something that I find works, but we're just gonna kind of slide around and see for the majority of their skin color, where do we like we can kind of come up here, but that affects all of the colors. So we're just kind of playing around here. This is just, you just have to play with it. And then the balance tool, you can see like if you go down, your shadows are more like pronounced, the color of the shadow that you had. If you come up, then your highlight color is gonna come out. So you can just kind of play around with this. But let's look at a little before and after. So this was our before, and this is our after, those colors really coming out. And then if we wanted to go a little further, let's go ahead and use our adjustment brush and change the temperature here, right here in her hairline. So that's definitely not what I want it to do, but sometimes I just go ahead and do the tool and then I make adjustments from there. So let's bring that temperature down a little bit so it's not so yellow, and we're gonna bring the tint down as well to get some of that red out. And there we have it. That is much better. Look at the difference. That bright hot spot on her face versus there, using that adjustment tool as well. The last little trick that I'm gonna show you guys today is how to convert your photo into black and white. Lightroom, again, makes it super simple, but I want to show you guys how to really make it stand out. So this is my photo after I made just my basic adjustments. Lightroom does have this little section over here, this treatment area. It says color and black and white. You can just click black and white and it puts it right in there for you. So simple, right? But I want to show you guys how you should definitely look into making some additional adjustments to the black and white filter that Lightroom provides, just to make it pop even more. So I love this, but it just seems a little bit flat to me. So I'm gonna bring some more contrast into it. My contrast is already super high on this photo, so I'm gonna have to do it another way. So I'm gonna bring the shadows down. I'm gonna bring my whites up just a little bit. They're wearing white tops, so I don't wanna bring it up too much because then it all gets blown out. So we're gonna bring it up a little bit. Let's bring our blacks down. That's definitely giving us that pop. And then I'm gonna bump my exposure up a little bit more just for a personal preference. So you guys can see here, this is the before and the after. And then if you wanna see the before in the Lightroom preset and the after of me making just simple adjustments to really make it pop, I think that makes a huge difference. And just an added bonus, I guess. Sometimes I have a photo that I love in color and I love it in black and white. And what you can do is you're gonna go back to the library tab, right click the photo, and then you're gonna come down here and say create virtual copy. That gives you two of the same exact image. So you can keep one in color and the other you can put into black and white. So you can give your client both of the same shot, just one in color and one in black and white. Well, that is it for this video. I hope that you found it helpful. Be sure to comment below if there is another little tutorial that you want to see me do. A like on this video and subscribing to my channel is always super helpful, and I appreciate it so much. See ya!